today? I hope you're feeling well. I hope the cold weather's not making you feel too shivery and full of a cold or anything like that. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to finally start my trip around the world quilt. And I probably won't get it all sewn up today, so I might have to do a series of a few videos showing each stage basically, and how you put this together, just to show you really how easy this is. There's a lot of, I've noticed, I've never made one before because I wanted to make one for a while, and there's a lot of videos on here on YouTube that I've got really experienced quilters, and they make these beautiful quilts, and they're quite complicated, some of them, not all of them. There's some very easy methods too. And sometimes if you've never really sewn much in your life before, if you've never really made anything, sewing anything before, you know, you might have made something in the past but not actually sewing. Could have been knitting or crochet or I don't know, anything. Like my husband likes wood turning, so it could have been any other craft but sewing. And I just think if you're new to sewing or you're not that experienced with sewing, showing you that you can put these beautiful things together simply, simplifying the process, it might just give you that encouragement to know that you can do it as well. And always remember, always keep in mind, if I can do it, you can do it. Because I've been sewing for years, but even though I've been sewing for years, I've not been a quilter for years. I'm not that experienced when it comes to quilting. So I like very simple, straightforward methods. I don't like complication. I don't like things that take too long. So I'm doing this in the very easiest way possible, and I just wanted to take you along on the journey to show you how easy it is, and that you don't need a lot of fabric, you know. So what I've done is I've chosen I've got winter fabrics. I've chosen some winter fabrics. Some of them are fat quarters, some are just fabric I've bought from the local fabric shop. A bit of a mix and match here. And the winter fabrics, what I would not necessarily call Christmas fabrics, because I don't really do Christmas, but winter. I didn't want anything that said Merry Christmas on it or Christmas trees, just personal preference. I don't have anything against anybody else having Christmas fabric at all, but for personal preference for me, I don't want to decorate my house for winter, for Christmas. I want to decorate it for winter. So I've got winter fabrics. There's some holly and some mistletoe and some berries, all the beautiful winter things you see. So I picked 1, 2, 3, 4, that's classed as 1, 5, 6 and 7. So I've picked 7 different fabrics, and again, you don't need a lot of those 7 different fabrics, just like a 1/4 metre of each, I would say, for the size I'm making. It's going to be about 37 by 37 inches. It's just going to be for the tabletop. So I didn't want to film ironing it all out and pressing it all, because that's just boring. You just don't need to watch somebody ironing. I know sometimes I watch YouTubers that are doing the housework and the ironing, and it does kind of spur me on, you know, to do some housework. But this isn't a housework tutorial or video, this is a sewing one. So what I did was I pressed these fat quarters out. That's a fat quarter, roughly. You can get fat quarter bundles very inexpensively, or just some jelly roll strips would do it. They'd be 2.5 inch. I've cut 3-inch strips out of the fat quarter. I've got 3, 4, 5, and I've got a spare one over there, about 6. Get about 6 3-inch strips out of a fat quarter if you tidy the edges up very frugally if they're a bit funny. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut all these into 3-inch strips, just using my quilter's ruler and my cutting mat with my rotary cutter, or you could use scissors. It's entirely up to you. I don't cut fabric out like this with scissors because I'm rubbish at it and I get jagged edges and it's not a pretty picture. So I do use a quilting ruler and a rotary cutter. Just use whatever you've got. If you don't have a quilting ruler, you can use scissors. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut the rest of this fabric out into 3-inch strips, and then I'll come back and I'll just show you what the next stage is. Hi friends, cutting my head off there. Just try that. Hey friends, right, so I've chosen these, I want to say 7 fabrics, and I've cut them. I just folded the fat quarters in half and cut 3-inch strips of these fabrics, and I cut, I want to say 5, I think, 5 strips of each fabric. So 3, I should straighten these out before I put the camera back on. Sorry about that, guys. Right, so we've got 5 of those, 5 of those. I'll pop the camera down so you can see what I'm doing. There we go. So I've got 5 of these lovely, and I just wanted to mention as well, if you're going to be making a quilt, whether it's a small quilt to go in a baby's cot, a big quilt to go on your bed, a lap quilt, just something nice as a table decoration, like a table runner or a table top, whatever. If you're making a quilt of any kind, I would always, always, always say use 100% cotton every time. Don't buy poly cotton or any other mixture. It's not good enough quality. And to be honest with you, this cotton was so inexpensive at the local shop, and the fat quarters that I got online, it would not have been worth buying poly cotton, because this cotton was, if you can find reasonably priced proper cotton out there, you don't need to buy an inferior quality fabric. If you're going to be taking your time to make something so pretty, please, please get a good quality fabric. So if I'm making something like this, I will always, always insist on making it with 100% cotton. And that is just something I don't compromise on, because I want it to be able to wash and I want it to last for years. I would say pre-wash your fabric, because it does tend to shrink. But a confession, I've never pre-washed my fabric yet, and one of these days I'm going to do one, and I'm going to regret it. I'm going to regret not pre-washing. But anyway, there we go. So there's these fabrics here, 7, I want to say. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I think I'm going to use that. I couldn't choose between those and those, so I'm going to use that one, I think. Those possibly won't be needed. Okay, so I'm going to need to decide now what order I have them in. I don't want the reds and the greens together. This is why I've picked some that have a white, well, a plain background. So it's like a white or an off-white. So what I'm going to do, just for a moment, is try and split them up a bit till I've got a pattern I like. So I'll have the green, and then I'll have the red with the white or just off-white background, And then I'll probably be tempted to have the red, maybe. And then I think the holly and the berries with the little bit of metallic in it will be really nice next to that. It will all make sense in a short while, folks. I just need to separate the fabric and decide how I'm going to have it. I may have the green there and the red there. I'm not sure if I want a plain at the end though, so I think what I might do is just swap that out. So I've got, I don't want the red next to the red either. So I might do, it's just whatever is pleasing to your eye. And I think I'm going to like that. There we go. So we've got the mistletoe, the holly, plain, holly, some snowflakes, plain, and some mistletoe, which I've got the wrong way around at the end. There. So then, what you need to do, and I will show you the next stage in a moment with the sewing machine out, is sew these strips together. So I'm going to put that one with that one, and then add that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and I'll do it probably like an assembly line. So that will be the next stage. So basically all we've done is get the fabric out and give it a good press, cut the fabric into 3-inch strips, and then put them in a pattern that we like. That's all we're doing up to now. So I shall be back in a moment. Right, my lovely bunches of loveliness, I have got the fabric strips in that order that I showed you. So I've just got them behind me on the desk. And all I'm going to do now, doesn't really matter which way that goes. It's one of those non-directional prints, I think. So all I'm going to do now with a 1/4 inch seam. Well, that was weird, that didn't move. Oh, that's why my needle was down. That's unusual. I always put my needle up when I'm putting my sewing machine away. Weird. Right, so with my 1/4 inch, I need to make sure that is a 1/4 inch. Bear with, guys. Can't remember if that is or not. Pop that needle down there on that. Because I usually use my 1/4 inch foot, but I can't be bothered. I'm trying to do it so that I don't have to do that. Bear with, sorry, I'm just getting my width sorted out. Is that a 1/4 inch there? Not quite. One more. One more. 6. I think at 6, when I've got my width at 6, it's a 1/4 inch. Oh, I didn't want to get my 1/4 inch foot out as well. I'm not so keen on the 1/4 inch foot for this because it's got like a thing at the side and it gets caught on the fabric. Well, the fabric gets caught on it. I find it really annoying. My old machine didn't do that with the 1/4 inch foot. It was a really good one. So what I'm doing with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, I am literally just sewing each strip together. That's all I'm doing. 7 colours all together. And then you see how this beautiful quilt comes together so quickly and so easily. And just every now and again, I'm just making sure I'm adjusting that fabric so the seams are just as they should be. Trying to keep the seams as accurate to a 1/4 inch as I can. Just adjusting again to make sure. There we go. Just snip that with my little scissors. to snip as I'm going because it just helps to keep it all tidy. Don't worry about the edges not being lined up properly at the top and the bottom. We just trim them at the end after, well, you know, when we've pressed everything out and got it all nice. We will just trim those edges and straighten them out. So again, you're going just to your next strip then, in that order that you want it in. And then you're adding the next strip. Now, some people just put twos and twos and twos of strips together and then put them together. It's up to you how you want to work your little assembly line. But I just go on to the next strip adding that. You just do whatever's really easier for you, to be honest. I've seen this done so many different ways that I kind of looked at lots of different ways and then come up with my own way, really. But this method is probably my favourite and easiest, where you just put long strips together and then cut them out. Well, you unpick them, but I will get to that shortly. There's a couple of YouTube videos actually that show this method, and they really are good. So if I don't explain this very well and you just don't get it, I will link a video below, if I can remember, that shows it in full in one go, simply because she's edited it so well, which isn't my strong point, as you've gathered probably by now. There we go. So let's get rid of that. The next time I get a sewing machine, I'm going to get one that has a thread cutter all on it. Makes it so much nicer. You do waste a lot less thread. So as you can see now, this is coming together really lovely. There we go. So I will continue to put these strips together side by side, and then you can join me back here for the next stage, which is so simple. And I think it's possibly at the next stage where you will see how this quilt comes together so easily. And it's just really clever how it happens, because like I said, there's different methods. Some people cut out all of the squares and then put the squares together, and I'd do it wrong if I tried to do it like that. I'm trying to do the most easiest method possible. And it's a bit skew with then, so I really need to take my time with this, to be fair. Keeping that fabric lined up. Just do a little bit at a time, and then just keep your eye on it, making sure you're keeping it all nice and straight. It's not hard, just to keep just keep readjusting and lining it up. Fabric does like to move, but this is easy to do. Snip that thread. That's another one, like so. Absolutely fabulous. I'm loving this already. I've only just started. So I shall come back when all these strips are put together, and I will show you the next stage. Okay guys, so the next stage in this lovely quilt, I have now sewn all these strips together so that they're identical. Every panel now of these 7 different strips are identical. So what I do now, bear with, all I did was put them on my little cutting mat here with my rotary cutter and my ruler, and I just straightened up the edges here. In fact, I don't think I did that edge there. I think I might have missed an edge here. Oh, I did. I missed this edge. So what I will do is I'll just tidy that up afterwards, actually. So all I do now is get this panel and I sew it, bear with, sorry guys, I sew it down this open edge here to make a tube, okay? So every panel now, sorry, the other way around, darlings, sorry. Every panel now gets a quarter of an inch sewn down every open end, like that now, to make tunnels. There we go, like so. So they're all identical. So that's the next stage. Let me just grab my sewing machine. Have my sewing room back. So with all these panels now, I'm going to sew them down the open ends here, like so. I'll show you in a moment. I know you're just off camera at the minute, aren't you guys? I don't think I've tidied some of these ends up. I've forgotten some of them, I think. I thought I'd done all of them. Right. Missed a couple. So I'm going to do a quarter of an inch. Bear with, and get that together. It's going dark here now. It's going very dark here now, so it's very hard for me to see what I'm doing. I may have to pack this in till tomorrow. There we go. So just like I did before, just making sure we're keeping those edges straight. And just sewing down that seam. Of this, it just got away with me a bit there. There we go. Just going to make sure my edges are all together, nice and straight. And then tidy those edges up, which I thought I had done. Unless I hadn't, I just not done a very good job of it. So once you've sewn the panels together, just try and lift you up a bit now so you can see. Once you've sewn these panels together, you're going to give them a really good iron, and then you're going to make them into a tube, like so, like this, with every single one of them. And then I'll just go ahead and tidy those edges up again, because I don't think I did a very good job last time. So I will just go ahead and sew the rest of these together down the edge. Bear with. I think you can see there okay. I think my machine is still in shot there, isn't it? So we're just going to probably see it better this time, actually. Get that thread under there. And oops. It's keeping these edges together straight. Like that. That is a little bit of a selvage edge there, but it doesn't matter because it is actually within the stitches, so it won't show. Which is really good. It's within the seam allowance. Relieved about that, because I hadn't noticed that when I was cutting the fabric out. go. Just so we've got another tube like that. There we go. Cut that thread off there. So that's what we're doing up to now. That's the next stage. It's very easy, this quilt, isn't it? You're just putting strips of fabric together. However many you want. I've just chosen 7. You can do whatever width you want. I've just chose 3 inch. You can do 2.5 inch. If you do 2.5 inch, you could buy a load of a jelly roll and put a load of strips together. That way it would work. Especially if you get a full jelly roll where you've got like 42 strips. You should have 40 strips. You should have enough to do a small quilt with that. Let's just get these edges lined up. Lined up very well. Sorry, I haven't been able to get the camera angle from behind me over the top yet so you can see precisely what I'm doing. But I know you get a good idea. I know you can see what I'm doing really. Just sewing this seam together. 1/4 inch. Like standard quilting seam is that, 1/4 inch. Dressmaking it's 5/8 inch. And I tend to just do somewhere between 1/4 and 1/2 if I'm doing things like cushions and any other home decor. If I'm doing a handbag, I tend to do 1/2 inch seam allowance. So again, just doing these tubes now. They've all been ironed, so I shouldn't need to press them again. They've been well ironed, well pressed. Should be fine. So I'll pop them seams together. So you've got your panel. You're putting right sides together and sewing that open seam down. So you're making a tube. Okay. That's another one whose edges haven't been straightened up very well. I'll have to sack the labourer, but that would be me. I just stop every few inches just to make sure those edges are lined up properly. Lovely. The next time I do this quilt pattern, I must remember to sew the tube together. Sew it into a tube first before straightening the edges up, I think. But we live and learn, don't we? So this one looks really well. This one's been straightened up really well, but the others haven't. Some of the others haven't. I hope you're looking forward to Christmas break. I hope you're getting a break at Christmas. I know I am. I've only had a little bit of break. I had a holiday in June, didn't I? And a little bit of a holiday in Wales in September, just for 5 days. But apart from that, I've been saving all my leave up so that I can have 3.5 weeks off at Christmas. I'm so fed up of work at this time of year. So stressful that I need that break. So I've never had such a big break at Christmas before. I've always worked right up to the very last minute. And it's always been too stressful every year. So I just booked 3.5 weeks off this year. Somebody else can do the work. So I'm looking forward to that break. It's going to be really nice. I'm not really having family here much this Christmas. My daughter's going over to Ireland to spend Christmas with her brother. And my stepdaughter will be staying with her mum this Christmas. And there'll be just me, hubby and my eldest daughter with her partner and my grandsons. So I won't see my granddaughters. I won't see my youngest, or my stepdaughter, or my stepson. My stepson will be going to his mum's as well. So it's going to be a quiet Christmas this Christmas. And then this morning at the outreach table, because I went out with church this morning to the outreach, and I messed that up, didn't I? Because I've got two flipping mistletoe together. I didn't think that one through, did I, when I was putting this together? I've done it now. I'm not changing it. I'd have to unpick it all. It'll still look fine, guys, the way that this goes together. So yeah, we're out with the outreach table, outreach team today with church this morning, 9:30 till 11:30, and we usually do 8:30, but it's been so cold that the guy who organises it just said, like, we'll just do 2 hours this morning, guys, because it's like -3 out there. So we just had a chill out together in the town next to where I live, where my church is. We were just out there this morning saying hi to people and chatting. It was nice, it was lovely. But my pastor was talking about how it was getting together at Christmas. Him and his wife and his mum, and me and Andy and my daughter and family. And a couple of others are going, I think. So we're all going to have a Jacob's join this year, I think, at church, and just get together and have a meal together, because we don't really do Christmas as in the big commercial side of Christmas, like with Santa's grotto and all that. I used to be big on Christmas. There was Christmas trees up and everything. It used to be like Santa's grotto, this house. Honestly, it was ridiculous. But I've come away from all that now. I don't do any of that really now. I don't criticise anyone that does, by the way. It's not to do with me, but I just don't do it myself. We've kind of come away from all that now. So my pastor says, why don't we just, like, why don't you come? Why don't you come to church and have a meal? Can I have a meal together? They're like, after the church service. I'm like, oh, that'd be so nice. So hopefully we might be doing that this year, which would be such a nice change. We'll both look forward to that. So guys, the tubes now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tidy these ends up again, because they're a bit tatty. And then all we literally do is cut 3-inch strips down that way. That's all we do. So that you end up with 3-inch squares all joined together. It's like magic. I love it. I love this quilt. I love this quilt. So let me get my mat and demonstrate. Right, so what I'm going to do, first of all, I should be doing this stood up. I can't cut sat down. Just do it so it'll lie nice and flat. Get off thread. Because I have ironed all the seams, so it should be okay. So all I'm going to do, everything's getting into a mess now, isn't it? Because I'm just dumping everything everywhere. Where are you? So all I'm going to do is literally, to move the camera down a little bit so you can see better. So all I'm going to do, I think you can see that better now, can't you? Is first of all just tidy this edge up. If it needs it, yeah, it does need it. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Right, let me get on that white bit so I can see better. Green on green's not doing it for me. Whew. Green fabric on a green mat, can't see a thing in this terrible light. Right, I'm just tidying this up a little bit. Try and take as little off as possible. I don't throw these scraps away, by the way, guys. I do keep these scraps, and I'll pop them in a tub, and then when I've got a tub full, they'll be used for stuffing. Nothing goes to waste in this house. Seriously. So basically, once I've tidied, bear with, this edge up here. If you do get a rotary cutter, you do need to change the blades quite regularly. Right, so now I've tidied those edges up, which I will do with the rest off camera. I don't need to watch all of that because it's boring. What I'm going to do now is measure 3 inches. Okay, bear with. Which side am I doing it? Because I'm right-handed. I'm doing it here. So let's just get this nice and straight. That's not 3 inches, Samantha. That's a bit 4.5. Right, let's do that properly. So that's lined up nicely. And I'm using all the lines on my ruler. So the lines going across with the flat of this fabric, flat of that fabric, and down the edge. So 3 inch squares now. Just go down that again just to make sure. So you have these now. Okay. Now they won't look square because these have seams on them. So you'll have, which will be also will be sewn. So they will eventually look like squares, but you've got like 2.5 inch over 3 inch. So they will look like rectangles at the moment, but that's what you've got there. So I'll go ahead and cut these down to 3 inches now. So once, like I say, once they're sewn, they will be squares, they will match. Oops, wrong again, isn't it? What am I doing? Oh no, that's 3. Gosh, it looked more than 3, did that? There we go. Oh, I knew I should have done all that again. Thread, there we go. So I'm just going to go along cutting all these tubes up now into 3 inches. Like so. Oh, I thought I'd separated that one. Just a thread. I think there's a kink in this rotary blade. I need to change it, I think, guys. Right. 3. Come on. Hurry up, Samantha. Because my back's aching now with leaning over the table. I can't spend too long cutting fabric out. I need to do it in fits and starts. So I'm lining it up there to the 3 inch. Fabulous. Hardly any waste there. Scrap bucket, right. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. That's the next stage. So I'll get the rest of these now, the rest of these tubes now. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that one 5. I'm going to tidy the edges up here at either side and then cut them into 3 inch like that. Okay. And then we'll be back, sweethearts. Whew. Hello, friends. So I've cut all these into 3 inch strips now. So for me, this is where the magic happens. I'm sorry you can't see me, guys. You're talking to my chin. So this is, to me, where the magic happens now. We're going to decide where we're going to start this. So I think the very first material, very first strip I did was this green mistletoe one. So what I'm going to do is very gently and carefully unpick that one to turn it into a strip with my little stitch picker, my little seam ripper, which I will probably, to be in all honesty, finish this off tomorrow because it's going so dark now and the light is so bad for me to see this that I will probably be better off finishing this off tomorrow in daylight. But in all honesty, I've only been doing this quilt now for less than 2 hours. I've been doing it for 1 hour and 50 minutes. And I've already got the most of it done. So what happens now is we lie this strip down flat. I don't know if you can see. I will move the camera back down now. So we're going to lie that flat, okay? So I want the next square down now, undone, okay? So that, don't worry if you do it wrong, it will eventually need to be placed somewhere, so you can just get another strip and start on that. But basically, you will go up. And I think this is why some people just cut out all the squares and then sew the squares together, because I don't think they like having to take these seams apart. But for me, it just makes sense. So this is where you're going to get your pattern now. So you go down to the next one and you take that seam out. So you're just going down a square. Each time you pick one of these up, you're just going down to the next square. Bear with. And because we haven't gone back and forth at the beginning and the end with our sewing and try to lock in those stitches like you would normally when you're sewing, because we don't do that when we're quilting. These do come all open very, very easily. Very easily indeed. It's only taking me a few seconds longer just because my eyesight is absolutely rubbish and it is quite dark here, like I said. And you just pull those little threads out anyway as you go. So as you can, I don't know if you can start to see a pattern forming now, where you've got these diagonals like so. So you pick the next one up and you're going to go down to the next square. This is kind of the block and it's going to look absolutely fabulous. So I'll do one block and then I'll do 4 blocks, right? And then you'll have a line going down there and a line going down there, and you will see the trip around the world pattern form then. But this is the pattern that you're looking for, where it's all staggered. It's all diagonal, like so. And then we'll just sew these together. So, am I doing 5 or am I doing 7, guys? I can't remember. What am I doing? I think I'm doing it 7, 14, 21, 28. Yeah, I need to do 2 more. 2, 3. Yeah, so 2 more strips. So then we want this one at the top now, don't we? Do we? Yeah. So if I undo this one, and then I'm going to sew these strips together, and then I'm going to do 3 more blocks like this, identical. That's where you'll see the magic happen. It's going to be so pretty. Bear with. Bear with. Oh my days. There we go. I've done it wrong again, haven't I? Or is it that way? No, it's that way. So move this up. Can't you tell I'm getting tired? See, I've only been at this 2 hours and I've done most of it already. It's just a case of doing these blocks now. I've done all the hard work for the blocks. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, final one where you'll have the red one at the top, won't you? So we'll just undo this block here. It's so easy doing it this way. I find it is. I mean, if you don't like this way, you can always just cut out all the squares and then just put them together one by one in the strips like this if you want to do it that way. I have seen people do it that way. It does take a lot longer to do it that way. I think it takes a lot longer because you're cutting out, rather than cutting out strips of fabric, you're cutting out all the squares individually. And whilst that's okay, it's not really my way. Right, so that is a block now. So I'm going to go ahead and sew these down together. And then I shall probably be back tomorrow because it is getting late. I will need to get tea on for when hubby gets home from work, and I will need to put all this away. So I will just crack on with this one block, and then I shall probably see you tomorrow, and for you it'll be a few seconds. So bye for now, guys.